Hi folks, we're out here today with Off-Road Images and the guys from Mountain Trail RV shooting a video about understanding vehicle weights and towing capabilities. So I've been driving this LandCruiser for almost 3 years now, and I've had a lot of questions about the vehicle and how I've got it set up. But I've had even more questions on how it compares to the Land Rover Discovery 4 that I used to drive. LandCruisers and Discoveries have been pitched against each other by the automotive media for decades, with numerous comparos generating very mixed results. In my opinion, the Discovery and the LandCruiser were always very different four-wheel drives, and I reckon the gap has just widened over the years. So given these vehicles have been compared to death, and in the interest of not offending a whole bunch of LandCruiser drivers, I'm just going to focus on this vehicle, how I've set it up, and what works really well for me. The first four-wheel drive I ever owned was a LandCruiser 70 Series I bought second-hand back in 1993. I lived out of that truck for 6 months, travelling around Australia on a shoestring budget. Taking delivery of this 200 Series 25 years later and being in a position to set it up how I wanted was a pretty awesome thing. And with a lot of trips planned, I really wanted to look after it. So things like a bull bar, side protection steps and underbody panels went on straight away. I didn't worry about a rebar at first, but ended up trashing the factory rear bumper on a trip with four-wheel drive TV. So ripped that off and fitted up a heavy-duty replacement rear bumper instead. This now gives me the ability to reposition the spare tyre onto a swing-out arm and fit a long-range fuel tank underneath down the track. I had a very full calendar of off-road trips within the first few months of taking delivery of this LandCruiser and wanted to look into ways of protecting the paint. I opted for a product called Expel, which is a clear polymer film that I had applied to some of the more vulnerable panels on the vehicle. This car's been on some really overgrown tracks over the past 3 years, but you'd never know it. The film's done a fantastic job of protecting the paintwork and it's held up brilliantly. So in the 17 years of driving Land Rovers prior to getting this LandCruiser, I didn't use the winch once, and I didn't even use a snatch strap. This worn Xeon, on the other hand, has seen a lot of action and has got me out of some really messy situations on a number of occasions. These recovery points have also had a really good workout. I've never even had those on a car before because ARB doesn't even make recovery points for Land Rovers. Go figure. Let's have a look at the back of the vehicle and check out the cargo area. I've been really happy with this setup. When you pull the third row of seats out of a LandCruiser, you're left with big curved wheel arches which aren't very conducive to efficient packing. So the addition of this drawer system, which squares off the cargo area, has really improved things. I went for a low height system which provides a really useful drawer height but maintains plenty of headroom in the back. Travelling around Australia for 6 months with just a rusty old metal esky makes me really appreciate having a car fridge these days. Able to operate on 12 or 240 volt, it's equally at home sitting in the car, boat or out on the back of the deck at home. The great thing about getting your car fridge from ARB is that we can fit it in the back of the vehicle securely and wire up a dual battery system so you don't need to worry about flattening the main battery. Installing charging points and carrying a decent solar panel means you'll never have to worry about running out of power again. Without a doubt, the air compressor system, which is hidden in behind this plastic trim, is the cleverest accessory I've had fitted to my LandCruiser. We've engineered a bracket that secures an ARB air compressor and air storage tank, which mounts into a void in behind the rear quarter panel. Having high volume air on board serves a multitude of uses, and it's the second most commonly used item I fitted to the vehicle. Which brings us to the final and most used modification on the vehicle. In standard form, the approach, ramp over and departure angles are pretty ordinary, and there's obstacles I've driven in the Discovery that a standard LandCruiser simply wouldn't get through without some panel damage. Sorry guys, I know it's going to fire up all the keyboard warriors, but it's true. The Old Man Emu suspension system completely eradicates this situation with better ground clearance. It also greatly improves the LandCruiser's load carrying characteristics and delivers brilliant handling and ride performance. The 200 is a great tow vehicle, and the suspension upgrade has also really optimised its capability for hauling heavy loads. OME suspension is one of the few modifications you can make to a four-wheel drive that you'll actually appreciate every time you drive it. So Discovery versus LandCruiser, which one would I prefer to drive? Well, to be honest, I couldn't really care less. They've both been awesome vehicles that have taken me to some spectacular destinations. I think way too many folks get hung up on this four-wheel drive versus that four-wheel drive. The important thing is you set your vehicle up to suit your needs. And at the end of the day, it's not about the vehicle you drive, it's where you take it and who you hang out with. At ARB, we get it.